are you afraid of? What is your greatest fear? One of my greatest fears was in the early years of starting our business, Auntie Anne's. At that time, I hadn't shared my story publicly. I was terrified that someone would discover my secrets. I was so afraid that the sexual abuse by my pastor would surface and somehow my past would ruin this amazing company we were building. I felt like a bad girl, and I didn't want anyone to ever discover the truth. It was during that time the 700 Club, a national talk show, called me to do an interview. I didn't know how I would tell my story, but I was determined because I was tired of the cloud that hung over my head, feeling like my past could rain on the business success. The day I recorded the interview was a day I will always remember as overcoming one of my greatest fears. It took courage for me to tell my story, but I started to feel the freedom that comes from confession and less concerned with what others thought. Fear is about imagining something that hasn't happened yet, seeing a possible scenario and believing the very worst. This fear is very real when we ask women to share their story. But I understand there's nothing more paralyzing than when fear grips you and stays in your spirit, especially when we're in pain. I never lived in fear when my life was pain-free. I had nothing to fear as a kid or a young wife. Fear is the result of the pain and situations I've experienced. We all know what it means to be afraid, and fear doesn't make sense. It just keeps you confused and in a position of weakness, paralyzing and keeping you from making any positive changes in your life. The opposite of fear is faith. A faith that telling your story will make a difference. I want you to understand that telling your story and confession are synonymous. They both help us conquer fear. Fear ensnares you. Faith liberates you. My husband has a quote I love. He says, "If Satan can bruise you as a child, you may carry it for life. Being silent is the way you carry it." Our silence keeps us wounded and perpetuates the cycle of fear. But now I've shared my story so many times, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I have no fear. When you no longer have secrets, you'll find that your level of fear will start to go down. One of the fears we often experience as a result of our secrets is that people won't like me. Well, I certainly can relate to that. There was a time during one of my counseling sessions when I was bemoaning over the fact that not everyone liked me. I was really upset about this. And what the counselor said surprised me. It was a new thought. He said, "Anne, it would be nice if everyone liked you, but it's really not necessary." Such a simple statement, but very powerful. It would be nice if everyone liked you, but it's really not necessary. I started to think about this and realized it's true. The more I tell my story, the more people get to know me and they actually like me, I think. Even Jesus, the Son of God, he was and is the perfect one. He wasn't liked by everyone. But there are times when fear is a good thing. This is called healthy fear. Healthy fear keeps us from danger. It protects us from harm and people that want to harm us. It's important to pay attention to this healthy fear. In contrast, unhealthy fear makes us a victim and leads us to unhealthy behaviors. You may know someone like that. They're so afraid of getting a disease, they become a prisoner in their own home, afraid to leave. That may be extreme, but in the same way, our fears keep us in an emotional prison. I believe the most unhealthy fear is religious terror. It is the most crippling of all of our fears. I grew up in a denomination that taught, if I was good, God would love me. If I was bad, God would punish me. Today, I may be saved and on my way to heaven, but if I do something bad tomorrow, I may go to hell. This is not the message of the gospel, but it's what I believed. I carried around this fear. It's unhealthy, but it's the very reason I stayed silent about my secrets for many years. If your theology doesn't reveal God's love to you, it's bad theology. There is grace and love enough, even when you need it, in abundance. God doesn't expect you to do what you cannot, but I believe He gets delight when you do what you can. I believe you can overcome this fear inside of you as you share your story. And as you do, your faith will increase, and the freedom you feel will begin to outweigh any of the fear you may have today. I didn't know that telling my story would make me fearless and a confident woman. When it comes to confession and telling your story, there really is nothing to fear.